Yes, lads, what is going on? Welcome to Season 5, Episode 8 of the Troy Sports Podcast. In this episode, it's just a solo episode of the podcast today. Another Sunday episode, quote-unquote, of the podcast, trying to implement these episodes back into their own little series as much as I can now that I'm trying to get back fit. Now, I'm not saying now that I'm back running, because, you know, when you come back from injuries, you can be on 1 week off, another week and not consistently running as much as you can. Little pains and little niggles can pop up here and there as your body starts to readapt to the running and the mileage and the intensity again. So now that I'm trying to get back fit, I think use of a better term, these Sunday episodes are definitely something I'm trying to re-implement. If you remember, you know, a long time ago with the podcast, these were a really frequent occurrence, a really frequent episode that I enjoyed doing, and now I enjoy doing them even more because they're a bit of a diary log, and in hopefully in a couple months and weeks time and years as well, I'll be able to look back and kind of see the progress that I've made and look back. So that is another really great reason to do these episodes. As well, big things do happen on specific weeks within training and racing, and this week is one of them weeks. So I'm going to go through this week, and I'm going to go through what I'm doing next week, because this week is playing into why I'm doing what I'm doing next week. If you listened to the solo episode of the podcast last week, you know I had a race today. Today is Sunday. It's currently 10:30 p.m. I've been quite busy today since after the race, and I had other videos to edit, and now I'm trying to sit down and get around to doing the solo episode of the podcast. So if I'm a bit, you know, sluggish or talking slow or sound a bit tired, is because I am. I've been up since 6 o'clock this morning because of the race. So do bear with me on that front, I suppose. So this week's week of training, we'll kind of crack into it and get I suppose down to the nooks and crannies of it for now, and then we get into the big stuff like the racing and the plan for next week. So in terms of this week, we had the hour cycle on the bike on Monday and some mobility as well. So that was just kind of to get the legs rolling on Monday. On the bike, I've implemented not a session, but like nearly more of a strategy to the actual bike itself. So I'm not just sitting at the one pace. It's not too easy. It's not too hard. Kind of the first 15 minutes, no resistance. The second 15 minutes, I'll do 2 resistance. The next 15 minutes, I'll do 3, then 4, and then I'll finish on 5. Some days after a session, I might just, you know, stick to the 3 or the 4. I'll finish on 4 some days after a session, because there's only 4 15s in an hour, there's not 5. So I'll finish on 4, but if it's like the bike ride after the day after a session, I might just do 3, just so the legs are recovering properly and they aren't under too much pressure the day after a session. Then we went into Tuesday, where we had a session with the team, very, very similar to the session we had last week, where we had 10 by 400. This week we done 11 by 400. Well, the lads done 12. I done 11. It's on the 2-minute cycle again, and I'm finding the 2-minute cycle really, really tough because of where my fitness is at. So basically, if you don't know what the 2-minute cycle is once you start the rep, so once you start the 400, just say you do the 400, just say for argument's sake you do it in 60 seconds, that means then you get a minute break. So the 2 minutes starts when the rep starts. So for me, I was doing the 400s in 80 seconds, so that means then, Jesus, I got 80, so I got 40 seconds rest. And although, you know, I might be doing the reps slower than the other lads, the effort is still the same because of where my fitness is at compared to them, as they've been training obviously over the past 3 years and I've been injured. So the effort is the same, but my rest is significantly shorter because I'm taking longer to do the reps. So I'm only coming back and I'm only getting a couple of seconds rest. It feels like I just cross the line, maybe throw the hands on the knees a little bit and try to get my breath back. And, you know, then there's other people on the track as well. So you need to time your rep with like people coming from behind you who are in the same lane that you need to get out before they get up behind you. So you're kind of rushing in. It's not like walking nice and relaxed back onto the line for the rep. It's rushing back on the line and then starting the rep again. So it's really, really high intensity. I got through the session and I was getting about, averaging about 80 seconds per lap. It was a mental game in some aspects, just because it really did feel like I was stopping and then straight into the next rep. So that was something that kind of mentally was really, really fatiguing. Sometimes when you have a bit of a longer rest, you have time to kind of breathe and calm down and relax, but I didn't have that at all. And then we done 11 of them, so it was a really, really tough session, but we got it done in the end. I had quite a busy week last week. I had my orientation for college now that I'm heading into DCU. Actually, first lectures start tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. So again, I'm up early tomorrow. So really putting in the grind here to getting this episode recorded, and hopefully I can get it out tomorrow as well when I find a little bit of time to do that. So really busy week last week. Obviously you seen I had the podcast with David McCarthy as well, and something that David spoke about in that episode kind of really stuck with me, and it was when he was talking about cross training, and more specifically on the cross trainer itself. The cross trainer where it's like you have it with your hands and you're on your with your feet as well. It's kind of like a standing up bike where the hands move as well. And he said that is the cardio machine that replicates running the most without the impact. Because obviously I have the bike and I've been doing the bike. I never feel like I come off the bike and I'm like, I've actually gained fitness from it. My legs might be a little bit recovered. They've been loosened out a little bit, but I never feel like I've actually gained fitness from being on the bike. So on Thursday, I jumped on the cross trainer for 1 hour. I jumped on it for an hour. Increasing, I started at like 12 resistance, finished at 16, and you build up such a sweat. The same muscles that you feel firing and lactic acid building up in them that you do while you're running, you get the exact same feeling on the cross trainer. Which was a great feeling. Even the aerobic feeling, or the aerobic feeling on the cross trainer really replicated what it feels like, even on like kind of an easier steady paced run during the week. When you're not doing sessions, kind of like a Wednesday or Thursday or Monday run, it had that exact same feeling. So I'm actually gonna stick to the cross trainer now over being on the bike. So when we get into the part of this episode talking about the schedule for next week, I will I'll talk about where I'm implementing the cross trainer. It was really, really good. I really do recommend it if you're someone. I also reposted one of David McCarthy's posts that he posted on Thursday about the cross trainer. And if you're someone like myself who, and another point David McCarthy touched on, sorry I keep kind of sidetracking, was if you can do all this high mileage all you want, but if you're not absorbing the training, that's another thing that really stuck with me that David said. If you're not absorbing that training and you're kind of just slugging your way through it, there's no real point. You'll end up getting really fatigued, overtrained, possibly you get injured. So you need to really be absorbing your training. If you are someone who is injury prone, or you can't, you don't react well to high mileage, because people react to different mileages. I heard Nick Grigg saying that he doesn't even do as much high mileage as some of the lads in Ireland now are currently doing, and obviously over in America and things, because his body just doesn't react maybe to the high mileage. And I'm not comparing myself to Nick Griggs, but I'd be similar in that sense. And if you're someone that doesn't react well to high mileage, if you're doing your long run on a Thursday or Sunday, your session on a Tuesday and a Saturday, they're 3 to 4 solid blocks of running, where then maybe on a Monday, Wednesday and even a Friday, if you're on the cross trainer, you're still building that aerobic base without the impact, and you're recovering quicker as well. You recover better for the next session because you're not on your feet. You're not, suffering from that impact that you get from a run. So 100%, if you want to implement cross training, if you're injured at the moment, if you're injury prone, if you don't absorb high mileage well, I really do recommend the cross trainer. It's the one, because I've been injured for so long. I've tried all the different cardio machines, the spin bike, the watt bike, which is actually, I find it harder than the spin bike, but you don't feel like you can be comfortable on it. It kind of feels hard from the get-go. The spin bike, the watt bike, the stairmaster, the rowing machine, the skiing machine. What else? That's kind of it. The cross trainer is the one for me that has replicated the active running and the aerobic feeling and the aerobic fitness that you gain from running the most compared to all of the other cardio machines. So I really did want to kind of touch on the cross trainer. On Thursday I done an hour on the cross trainer. It kind of up in the intensity as I went. Didn't get too hard at all. Just really I did build up a sweat. And then I done some massage. At the moment I'm using one of the little massage balls and my foam roller as well. I actually don't have them out at the moment. They're over in my bag that I brought to my race today. Just a really good little massage ball to massage the inside. Oh, you can't see, and I'm probably gonna cramp up the inside of my tib here, my post tib. When I that works well. Even though I'm still getting a little bit of pain. And I'll talk about that now in a minute. In that post tib area, the massage ball really does help loosen out them knots. And the foam roller as well for the rest of my calf works really, really well. Now, yesterday I didn't do anything. I was planning on doing maybe like a half an hour on the cross trainer, but I completely forgot. The day got away from me, and I completely forgot that the gym closes at 7:30 on the weekends. So I wasn't able to do that, but it was no harm. I got to watch the Ireland rugby game where we beat South Africa. So really, really enjoying the Rugby World Cup at the moment. And while watching that, I spent like over an hour, like the whole game, using the massage gun, the foam roller, and the massage ball, to get ready for the race today. So yeah, I spent like the whole day doing that yesterday. So yes, as of today, yesterday was Saturday. All Saturday night getting ready. Spent like an hour and a half using the massage gun, the foam roller, and the massage ball. Then I came upstairs after the game. I done my mobility, had a cold shower, so my legs are feeling pretty good. Had a decent night's sleep. With summer and kind of getting, staying in bed a little bit longer during the summer, it's been harder to try and fall asleep earlier for the nights that I do need to get up early the next day. So now that I'm starting back in college tomorrow, and I was up early this morning, I am trying to get back into that routine of falling asleep earlier as much as I can. In terms of my routine today for the race, and I suppose up until this point today, I'll get into the actual race itself as well. The race was at 10 o'clock. I was meeting my coach and three of my teammates at the clubhouse to drive out to the race. It was in Rathfarnham. It was the Rathfarnham 5K. I was meeting them there at 8:15. It's about a 25-minute drive from my house, so I left at about 10 to 7 or 10 to 8, so 7:50. So I got up at 6 to again use the massage ball, use the foam roller, and have a cold shower, do all my mobility. The cold showers, by the way, that's something I kind of want to touch on as well. That I find them really, really good for recovery, for actually, kind of waking up the body for them early sessions or early runs, because you do find for them early runs or them early sessions, or like today's case, them early races, your body can be half asleep, especially if you didn't get a good night's sleep. It can be half asleep, and you can be really, really tired. And it really just wakes the legs up, gets them ready for maybe a bit more mobility or your warm-up jog. I really do stand by the cold showers as well for your mental strength, because especially like this morning I got up at 6 And the last thing I wanted to do was jump into a cold shower. I was kind of trying to find every excuse. I was like, oh, I had one last night, and oh, does it really do that much? But to actually then get into the cold shower, one good strategy I find is start with it on your legs and then build it up. So have the shower head in your hand, kind of run that over your legs, and then start to work it kind of up your body. Eventually, your body will just go completely numb, and you'll be fresh. But it is really good for recovery, waking up the body, and building up that mental strength as well. So got up at 6, had my cold shower, massage with the foam roller, with the massage gun and the massage ball. Done my mobility, had got some fluids into me, had a good breakfast. Well, not a good breakfast at that hour in the morning. You're not really hungry. I had a bagel, and then we headed out to the race. So I got dropped to the clubhouse where then, like I said, I met 3 of my teammates and my coach, and we drove out to the Rathfarnham 5k. When we got there, we started the warm up. A little bit of tightness in my kind of posterior tib area. Obviously, I'm not a professional, sports massage, or I'm not a physio. Kind of the massage you do yourself can only do so much. But it was all right when I started the warm up. Done a 20-minute warm up jog kind of around Turnier College on the grass and on the path a little bit. We didn't get out onto the course because the course was on the road, and the roads are only blocked off for the duration of the race. So we didn't get out onto the course. We were on the grass and things like that. Came back, done a little bit of stretching, and then we headed down to the course. Coming into this race, kind of my thoughts coming into this race was like no expectations, absolutely no idea. Obviously, this is my first race in 3 years. I didn't know where my fitness was at. I haven't been even training that much. I had no idea where my fitness was at. I knew it wasn't great just due to the sessions that I've been doing. I knew I wasn't, I'm not in good shape whatsoever. I had no idea kind of what I would run. If I ran 22 minutes, I wouldn't have been surprised. But then at the same time, if I ran 18:30, I'd have been like, that's pretty good. So anyway, I'll get into the time that I ran and all now in a moment. But got down to the course, done a couple of strides. We were waiting on the start line for a little bit too long. Kind of, there was like 1,250 people in the race, so they actually had to make sure everyone was there, and get everyone lined up. And we were actually standing up the front of me and my teammates were standing up the front of the start line, which is quite cool just due to the fact that there were so many people in the race. But it also had a negative effect because there were so many people in the race, and the start was actually on a big downhill. You actually had no choice but to get out really, really hard and really, really fast. So when the gun went off and so many people were coming from behind us, especially because we were up the front, you had no choice but to sprint. And so people didn't bump into you or accidentally trip you up, because you had over 1,000 people coming from behind you. And you also had lads coming from behind you that were a lot faster than you as well. So, you had no choice. And then obviously you're running on a bit of a downhill on the start, and you have that adrenaline and everyone running behind you. But then you got down to the bottom of the hill. It leveled off a little bit. It was still a little bit of a decline, but it started to level off a little bit. But just still, because there was that little bit of a decline, you were still going a little bit faster, obviously. So when it did eventually level off, and the adrenaline kind of calmed down, and you got really into the race, you kind of start finding your position. For me personally, it's probably because of where my fitness is at the moment. I just found I was gone. I was in agony from like the get go. I was like, how am I ever going to finish this? And because I kind of got off to a quick start, like I said, because we were at the front of the start line, towards the downhill, and I started slowing down, people started passing me. Mentally, it got really, really draining, because people were passing me. It just got really, really tough, and as well physically, I was in severe pain. my legs, like not pain in terms of injury, but just my legs were tired. Lactic acid was already kicking in. I was breathing heavy, and then mentally as well, I was just gone because of the pain and because of everyone passing me. So I was like, right, and I was like, I could sit here and say, I was like, okay, relax, calm down, but that didn't happen at all. It was literally just pain. Um, there was one point during the race, it was actually at the 3K mark, where I just actually had to stop for a second. I just, stopped, and went to the side of the road. I kind of caught my breath back. I closed my eyes. This, obviously you're meant to calm yourself down during the race. And again, I haven't raced in 3 years. Fitness wise, I'm still not there. Technically, you think going back into your first race after 3 years, you'd be fit enough. My fitness is nowhere near fit enough at the moment. So during the race, you're meant to be like, able to keep running and tell yourself, okay, calm down, relax. But I just wasn't able to do that. The lactic acid at 3K, it was really, really bad. And at the 3K mark, at the 2K mark, it started on a big downhill, kind of started to level off, still a little bit of a decline. And we took a left turn, then a right, like a bend. So it was a left bend and then a right bend and then another left bend. And then obviously at that point we ran past the finish line. So the finish line was like a K past the start. So it was one big loop. So we started at the downhill and done one left bend, then a right bend, and then a left turn. And this was coming up to 2K. And then it was an incline for about till like 3.5K. It was an incline till about 3.5K, and it was at 3K during that incline. I kind of just had to step onto the path for a second. Like I said, the roads were closed, so I had to step onto the path for a second, kind of just close my eyes, breathe, and then I got back into the race. And that's not saying once I started running again, I was as fresh as a daisy. As soon as I started running again, I was back exactly to how I felt before I started. But I was like, right, I stopped. I'm not stopping again. I kind of, because I stopped, a couple people, obviously a good few people passed me. So I was kind of with like a couple of slower people. I was sticking with them. And then because I was able to pass them, it kind of boosted my morale a little bit. I was kind of like, right, if they're able to run this race and finish this race, and I'm running quicker than them, but I wasn't forcing it, I was just naturally running quicker than them. I was like, right, I can do this, I can run and finish this race. So we got to the top of the incline, came back around towards the traffic light. So we kind of started at the middle of the hill, got back to the top of that hill, ran down, ran past the start, came to that left bend and that right bend again, and that was all the way down to the finish line. One thing that did happen though was there was a 600 meter mark. It says like 600 meters to go. It was nowhere near 600 meters to go. At that point, I started to pick it up, and then people were like, 200 meters to go, 200 meters to go. I swear people were saying there was 200 meters to go for like a K. So you do start to pick it up, and you're like, where is the finish line? And another thing, the finish line, obviously you had the left bend, the right bend, and the left bend, so you couldn't actually see the finish line physically, which is quite mentally tough. If you can see the finish line, you mentally you're like, right, there it is, I'm gonna go for it and pick up the pace. But when you can't see it, and there was some traffic lights I could see like within the bushes, I thought was the outline of the finish line, but it wasn't. It was just I had to go around the next bend. It was a really, really tough finish. The marking of 600 meters to go seemed a little bit wrong. The bends were tough because you couldn't see the finish line, and as well, people at the side being like, 200 meters to go, 200 meters to go, and then it not being 200 meters to go. It was really, really tough. We got to the finish line, stopped my watch. On my watch, it was 19:09. 19 minutes and 9 seconds for my first race, my first 5K as well in 3 years. When I hear that, what do I think? How do I feel? I feel like I have no right to be upset with that, because if I told myself this time last year that I'd have ran a 5K race with little to no injuries, and ran sub 20, nearly sub 19, if I'd have broken 19 minutes, that would have been really, really not. I would have really been really happy with that. But like I said, I really no right to be upset with that time, be upset with the fact that I'm able to race once again with little to no injuries, um, and you know, nearly been breaking into 18 minutes. I've absolutely no right to be upset with that. I'm really happy. And it's a benchmark. It's the first race of the season. There was no pressure going into this race. There was no like there was no pressure. There was no expectation. There was no kind of anything to base it off. Like even the sessions there was nothing to base it off. Even with the sessions, I was going in completely open minded. I was actually quite looking forward to the race. Now, unfortunately, when the race started on the downhill and I was in agony straight away, it kind of my mindset switched a little bit, and I was like, oh, am I fit enough to actually be racing? But I stopped once for a couple of seconds, then I started again, and I came through the line in 19 minutes and 9 seconds. I'm happy with that. I've no right not to be happy with that. Our team came second senior team. It was also a Dublin Championship race, so we are second senior team. We had a lad Mahad. He came second junior, and Killian Keegan he came fourth junior. So really good result for all the lads. All the lads ran really well today. And for me personally, I'm happy. I was dead after the race. I jumped straight onto the ground. I was covered in grass and whatnot. But yeah, no, I'm happy with the race. I'm happy with how it went. I've no right not to be happy. Again, if you told me this time last year, this time 2 years ago, I probably wouldn't believe you that I'm running a race with little to no injury. In my first 5k back, I run nearly sub 18. Like think about that, sub 18. Like this is me now at some of my worst fitness. During COVID, when I was at my peak fitness, that was the first time I broke 18. So, something's I've developed as an athlete and as a person. I've gotten stronger. I've gotten taller. I've gotten bigger. Mentally, I'm definitely stronger because I'm getting these opportunities that I thought I'd probably never be able to do again when I kind of sacked running in for a little bit, and when my injuries were at the worst. So now being at one of my worst fitnesses, and nearly gone sub 18, where during COVID where I thought I was some of my peak fitness, only breaking into 18 minutes, then I've really nothing to complain about. It's a benchmark now. It's the first race of the season. I can build off of this and kind of see how the rest of the season goes. In terms of the rest of the season, where I'm going from now, and that's going to lead us into my training plan for next week. Like I said, I still have them two little niggles in my tibialis posterior. It is tightness. I know it's tightness because right now when I touch it, I can feel the tenderness and I can feel the knots. And when I'm using the massage ball, I can feel the tenderness and the knots kind of become exposed while I'm using the massage ball and using the foam roller. But they're not injuries. It's just tightness. And that's actually I took the time to sit down and think about my injuries, and the only injury that I kind of had that didn't come from tightness was the last time I had to stop running due with my shin splints. Everyone gets shin splints. Now I'm actually going to do a strength and conditioning vlog because I have a serious shin superset that I do actually in my strength and conditioning sessions, and as part of my strength training. But yeah, that was like the only injury that didn't stem from tightness. My Achilles was tightness. My knees. So my Achilles was tightness in my Achilles. Obviously, I do my two Achilles stretches. They give me no trouble. My knees, that was tightness in my hips and quads. They give me absolutely no trouble. Last time I had to with my shins and calves, the main area of my calf, that was just due to tightness, and not being warmed up and strengthened properly. My shins, that was a strength issue. Like nothing has been physical damage. It's just been, mobility and strength issues. That's it. So that's kind of the mindset I'm having now with my post tib kind of little niggle. Because maybe last year if I got this injury, what, like for example last year's country season when my calves and were giving me trouble, and my shins are giving me trouble. I kind of just sacked it in. I just wasn't really bothered. But now I kind of have the mentality of, right, it's just tightness. Go to the physio, do your massaging, do your mobility, do your foam rolling, do your stretching, and you can keep it at bay. You know it's not physical damage. You know it's only tightness, and eventually it could go away. So that's the mentality I have now. Like I said in the podcast that I recorded in Liverpool, although this is kind of quote unquote my last attempt at running, that doesn't mean if I get injured or a little pain that I'm going to sack it in. I'm going to get that pain, I'm going to get that injury, and I'm going to sort it. And I'm going to kind of try and find the root of the problem. And like I said, a lot of the roots of the problem are just coming from tightness. So that is my kind of mentality shift now, that I'm able to race, I'm able to run, I'm cross training, and I'm actually enjoying the cross training. And as well, I'm implementing a new strength training program as well this week. And I'll actually jump in to the training schedule for the week of the 25th and why I'm doing it. So obviously, like I said, I've been having a little niggle on both of my post tibs. So I raced today, feeling them right now. They're grand. My calves are a little bit tight. Obviously, everywhere is a little bit stiff and a little bit tight. Obviously because of the racing, it's my first race. The race feeling is completely different to the training feeling. So I'm just being extra careful. Next week, for the week coming, I'm taking kind of the week to recover, to sort out the little niggles I have. So on Monday, tomorrow, I have a 30-minute on the cross trainer, some mobility, and my own massaging. I'll do core as well. So tomorrow is really just to recover from the race today. And as well, tomorrow night, I'm doing a recovery room. I'm doing it here in Junction 6, the recovery room in Junction 6. It basically, if you've never been to a recovery room, you can either do 10 minutes in the ice bath, 10 minutes in the jacuzzi, and then 10 minutes in the sauna, or you can do what's called a lactic flush, and this is what I'm doing tomorrow. It's a minute in the ice bath and a minute and a half in the jacuzzi, and you do 4 rounds of that. That's it basically what that does. Your muscles act like a pump, so they contract during the being in the ice bath, and they expand then when you get into the jacuzzi. So it becomes essentially a pump, and it pumps out all of the lactic acid. Then you'll spend 15 minutes in the sauna, and then you'll spend the rest of your time in the compression boots. So I'm really looking forward to that tomorrow, hopefully to help me recover a lot from the race today. And you never know, it will do me really well with the tightness in my post tib. Tuesday, I'm doing 40 minutes on the cross trainer, mobility, massage, and then I'll get into strength training. My new strength program, if you remember, I was talking about my strength program last week, and I was doing really light stuff, and I didn't want to increase it too quick. But I think this week is a good week to increase my strength training, because I won't, when you do legs in the gym, you can be walking funny for days. Your legs can be really sore and really stiff for the next few days. So I think this week, because I'm not running, I will be able to up my strength training, and then by the time next week or the week after comes around, when I'm back fully running with the team and doing the sessions again with the team, my legs will have adapted to the, I suppose, heavier and more intense strength training. So the way my strength training is going to go is 3 sets of each exercise, 3 sets of most exercises, and each set gets heavier. So the first set is 8 reps, the second set is 6 reps, and I'll up it by 2.5 kg, and the last set is 4 reps, and I'll up it again by another 2.5 kg. So I'll start off with box squats. So that's squats with just a box underneath you, helps build strength, and you don't need to do the full range of motion. So just say I started off on that on 40 kg for 8 reps. Then I do then I do 42.5 kg, and then I do 45 kg. So that's the way that's going to work. Then trap bar deadlifts, the exact same concept as the box squats. Bulgarian split squats, again the same concept in terms of increasing the weight and decreasing the reps. Tib bar superset, basically that is, I got one of them tib bars, the tib machines, that you can get by the Tib Bros on Amazon or on their website. It was €50, but it was really really worth it. It's a really good way to train your shins, and as well to be able to progressively overload the training that you're doing and the strength training that you're doing on your shins, because I have been doing kind of the shin like extensions, the shin, that kind of shin movement with the resistant band. I think shin extensions with the resistant band. But now that I've gotten kind of past that, I'll use that for activation before a run, or activation, before a session or a race. But in terms of actually helping me build strength, when I first got that resistance band, that I did find it tough doing that shin exercise with it. But now I've kind of progressed further from that. So now I just do a superset where I do 3 sets of the tib bar to failure, the resistant band to failure, and then I do the standing wall toe raises with 5 kg planted on each foot, and then I do that to failure. And then once I do that, I take the 5 kg weights off, and then I keep doing that exercise, the toe points against the wall. I do that to failure then without weight. I do that for 3 sets. Your shins do be burning, but I have zero shin pain. If my shins ever are a little bit stiff, I found the flathead on the massage gun works really really well to kind of loosen them out. But my shins, my anterior shin, and the main big part of your shin where most people suffer from a lot of shin splints, even I'm touching them now after the racing things, they're not tender one bit. So yeah, that's a really really good superset. If you do struggle from shin splints, I do really encourage you to implement a lot of shin training, strength training into your strength and conditioning, as it has helped me quite a lot. And then I'll finish off with single leg bent calf raises, and then superset that with inward toe pointing calf raises, both with 20 reps of each, and I'll do that for 3 sets. And the inward pointing calf raises helps with the outside of your calf. I don't know, is that the gastroc part of your calf? I could have gotten that wrong. But that's an area of my calf that gets a little bit tight. Once I foam roll it out, it's okay, but I'm just trying to build up the strength in it, so it doesn't get any worse. Moving on from Tuesday into Wednesday, I'm then doing an hour on the cross trainer on Wednesday, and then I'm going to see my physio to get dry needling done. I got it done there a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of weeks ago. I got it done, in August, and it worked really well. Kind of the areas that he targeted, I don't get pain in them anymore. He targeted my post tib, but kind of upper post tib, kind of outside of calf. This time we're gonna do it lower post tib, and really kind of come right into that shin bone. So looking forward to that. So that is on Wednesday. I'm getting the hour on the cross trainer in before that, just to gain, get the cardio in. I don't want to do it after, because your legs do be in bits after getting the dry needling done. It feels like basically little contractions, little mini cramps that it forces into your leg. So that is what I'm getting done. So then on Thursday, I'm doing another hour on the cross trainer, and just kind of a lot of mobility and massage, and I'm going to do a little bit of core as well. But kind of helping my legs recover as well a little bit from the dry needling. As like I said, they are little contractions. It hits the nerve endings and releases the knot. So kind of doing a little bit of massage, and maybe not too intense on Thursday, just because I'll be really really I suppose tender after the dry needling. But that is what I'm going to be doing Thursday. Friday, no cardio on Friday, just doing mobility, massage, strength and core on Friday, so a little bit of everything in there. Saturday, doing an hour on the cross trainer, mobility and massage, and Sunday 40 minutes on the cross trainer, mobility and massage again. So big emphasis on implementing the new strength training schedule into my training next week, to allow my legs to adapt to it while not having to run at the same time. And another major emphasis on mobility and massaging that post tib next week with the recovery room, with the foam roller, with the massage ball, and as well, of course, with the dry needling. Hopefully all that coming together will really help with the little bit of niggling pain that I have been getting in that area since starting back running. And then the week after that, obviously next Sunday I'm going to talk about how this week went, how the dry needling went, and how the post tib is feeling now that I spent the week focusing on it. Next week I'll kind of talk about that training plan where I'm not going to go straight back into the sessions. I'll still be on the cross trainer, do 1 or 2 runs, and still focusing on mobility and massaging as well. So a lot going on. We're full steam ahead on building fitness. That's the plan. Like I said, I'm not saying I'm back running, even though I am, but I kind of want to more label it that I'm back building fitness, because if I just have it as back running, then it will just be a big emphasis on having to run all the time instead of being on the cross trainer and focusing on the other aspects of running as well that will hopefully give me more longevity, such as massage, mobility, and strength training. So that is going to do it for the Sunday episode this week. A lot happened over the past week in terms of the race, 1909 in the 5k. Really cannot complain one bit. Nice little benchmark, 11 by 400 meters on the 2-minute cycle on Tuesday, and as well jumping on the cross trainer has been something that has really helped me with my training. So gonna definitely continue implementing that in. And finally, the training plan for next week, focusing on massage and mobility and getting that post tib right, so it doesn't get worse, I suppose, in the long term. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Before we go, big shout out to the sponsor of the podcast, Mini Athletics. Links to Niall's Instagram down in the description. The link to the Mini Athletics DDS Dundalk Drogheda and Swords. Finally got that out. Their Instagram is down in the description below, and the Mini Athletics website is linked down below as well. Big thank you to them for sponsoring the podcast. They're a place where you can go to get your kids involved in athletics from ages 1 to 8, 2 to 7. They learn organisation skills, teamwork skills, and they learn how to jump, throw, run, all mixed into really fun games. You can go to their classes again in Dundalk, Drogheda and Swords. They can come to your school. You can have a fun day with them, or you can have them for your birthday parties as well. So if you want to get in touch with them, the links are down in the description below. But like I said, that is going to do it for this episode of the podcast. I hope you all enjoyed. Hopefully big things to come for the rest of the season. Good to break the ice after 3 years getting back racing. But without further ado, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.